I'm calling to order this hearing. This is a public hearing or public roundtable of the Committee of the Whole of the Council of the District of Columbia. I'm Phil Mendelson, Chair of the Council and Chair of the Committee of the Whole. Today is Wednesday, November 1st, 2023. The time is 11:47 in the morning. And this hearing, well, I'm present in the council hearing room 412 of the Johnny Wilson Building, but the witnesses today, I believe, are all participating virtually. The purpose of this hearing is to consider nominations for appointment for 3 boards or commissions that help play actually an important role with regard to district government and regional process. Specifically, the resolutions are PR 25-409, Commission on the Selection and Tenure of Administrative Law Judges of the Office of Administrative Hearings, Laura Hankins Appointment Resolution of 2023. PR 25-411, the District of Columbia Judicial Disabilities and Tenure Commission, Dr. Patrick Jackson Appointment Resolution of 2023. And then in regard to the appointment of Valerie Joy Santos to the Board of Directors of the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority. The first 2 of these, the resolution to appoint Laura Hankins and the resolution to appoint Dr. Patrick Jackson, were introduced by me on September 18th of this year. The third, which is the resolution to appoint Valerie Joy Santos to the Board of Directors of the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, was introduced by me on October 17th, 2023. And that measure is PR 25-480. Each of these 3 are appointments by the council. And the process is one where I introduce the resolution, and then typically I have a hearing to afford the public an opportunity to come forward if they wish, if they have concerns, but also for the Committee of the Whole to hear from the nominees. Let me look at the hearing notice. The stated purpose of PR 25-409 is to appoint Laura Hankins to the Commission on Selection and Tenure of the Administrative Law Judges of the Office of Administrative Hearings. And this is for a term that, if I can find it quickly, a 3-year term to end April 30th, 2026. She actually would be taking the place or succeeding Joseph Onick, who's been the council appointee. The stated purpose of PR 25-411 is to appoint Dr. Patrick Jackson to the District of Columbia Judicial Disabilities and Tenure Commission. And this would be for a term to end May 5th, 2028. I believe it's a 5-year term. And Dr. Jackson would be succeeding Dr. Millsman, who's been the council appointee for a number of years. And then the third, which is PR 25-480, would appoint Ms. Valerie Joy Santos for a term ending June 30th, 2027. And she would be replacing Lucinda Babers, who resigned in, I believe, June of this year. I don't have these notes in front of me, but Laura Hankins being nominated for the Commission on Selection and Tenure of Administrative Law Judges. This is the commission that reviews the appointments and reappointments of administrative law judges on for the Office of Administrative Hearings, which handles most but not all of the district government's civil adjudication. I shouldn't say civil, administrative adjudication of cases that are brought by different agencies of the district government. And the Commission on Judicial Disabilities and Tenure reviews, I believe it's for senior status, as well as, I believe, for reappointments, members of the Superior Court and I believe the Court of Appeals. And the council's appointee has always been someone who's trained in the medical profession, which is why I think Dr. Patrick Jackson would be perfect for the position. And the WMATA Board of Directors determines agency policy and provides oversight for the funding, operation, and expansion of the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority. The board is composed of 8 voting members and 8 alternate members. Ms. Santos would be filling one of the regular voting director positions. As I think I've said already, the purpose of this roundtable is to receive testimony from the public as well as the witnesses with regard to these appointments. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask each of the nominees to present a statement, and then I will have some questions for them. And if other council members are present, they will ask questions as well. So in the order I've already mentioned, Laura Hankins and Dr. Jackson, and then Ms. Santos, if each of you would proceed. Ms. Hankins? Good morning, and it's nice to see you.
Good morning. Did I start my statement?
Yes, I can barely hear you. We'll see what happens with the volume.
Okay, I will speak more. Oh, wow, I'm in 2 pictures. More loudly. Is this better?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, all right. I'll try and speak loudly. Good morning. Thank you, Chairman Mendelson, for nominating me for appointment to the Commission on the Selection and Tenure of Administrative Law Judges of the Office of Administrative Hearings, and thank you for this opportunity to explain my interest in serving as a member of COST. I became a district resident in 1992 when I moved here to work as a staff attorney in the trial division of the Public Defender Service for the District of Columbia. I became a member of the DC Bar in 1992 and have remained an active member in good standing since then. In my 31 years of legal practice, I've had only 2 employers, PDS and the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, Inc. My law career has been about public service. 28 years of my law career has been in service of residents of the district who cannot afford to hire an attorney. My interest in serving as a member of COST is twofold. I am interested in serving my community, that is the district, and I am interested in helping to ensure that a corner of our justice system to which little attention is paid is a place where the phrase "and justice for all" has real meaning. While I've never had a matter before the Office of Administrative Hearings, from my experience as a trial lawyer practicing in DC Superior Court and in other courts, I know the importance to the administration of justice of adjudicators who are well qualified, fit, temperate, and effective. The judge's competence and temperament are particularly important in a forum such as the OAH, where the cases are ones to which the public pays little attention and where many litigants will not be represented by counsel. I have seen judges who are in over their heads when it comes to deciding complex legal questions. More often, I have seen judges who are curt and officious to the point of being disrespectful of the parties before them. Fortunately, I've also seen many judges who decide difficult legal questions with acuity and nuance, and who, even when ruling against a party, or even when imposing a prison sentence, treat the people before them with respect. As we know from ongoing attention to questions of judicial ethics, the appearance of fairness and impartiality is critical to the legitimacy of a court or forum and to the acceptance of the court's rulings. One way to ensure that a court or judicial forum is competent and fair is to actually be the judge who acts competently and fairly. Another way to help ensure that the judges are competent and act fairly is to be part of hiring and retaining such judges. I am interested in that important behind-the-scenes work that the COST does. While I have been, and sometimes still am, a trial lawyer, most of my legal career has not been in the courtroom. Rather, I've worked in the background, for example, by helping to ensure district laws promote justice and are clearly written. I've spent a combined 12 years volunteering as a member of the DC Bar Legal Ethics Committee and the DC Bar Rules Review Committee, behind the scenes of the legal profession, helping to ensure that lawyers have clear guidance on ethical behavior. I've spent many years as part of the hiring process at PDS. So much of my experience is not in doing the work, but in making sure there are systems in place and good people in positions to do important work well. I think that background makes me particularly qualified for appointment to cost and helps explain my interest in serving. Finally, I want to point to what many on or working for the council know about my integrity and ability to work with others. I believe that in the 16 years that I testified at hearings and worked on legislation before this council, I demonstrated to council members and staff that I am forthright, that I stand on principle, but that I also work collegially and even collaboratively with people who have diametrically opposed positions to ones I am taking. I expect those skills would also serve me well working on a very small commission. Thank you again for this opportunity. I am honored to have been nominated and hope to be able to serve my community as the council chairman's appointment to cost. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hankins. I will have some questions for you for all of the nominees, but let me turn to, but that's after I hear from all three of you. Dr. Jackson?
Yes, sir. Thank you for recognizing me, and thank you, Chairman Mendelson, for the honor of this nomination to the District of Columbia Judicial Disabilities and Tenure Commission. I submit my name for this position as I strongly believe that faith in the judiciary is a bedrock for our democracy. The legal system is founded as an adversarial relationship, whether between the state, represented by prosecutors, and an individual, or between two opposing parties. Judges sit in this uniquely privileged position of oversight to maintain fairness and meter out justice without fear or favor. As such, they have extraordinary power to take away someone's liberty and or property. The massive responsibility that goes along with the distributing of justice must also carry a burden of proper conduct and adherence to fundamental fairness. Oversight of judicial conduct is one such backstop to maintain the integrity of the system. As I see it, the commission is not charged with the appeals of law, but with the support of the system that shows that with great power comes great responsibility. I have been practicing in DC as a surgeon at Georgetown University Hospital for the past 20 years, and I have been the chief of general surgery here at Georgetown for the past 9. I also serve as the program director for the surgical residency, and we are the 4th largest surgical residency in the country. My wife is a federal judge, and so I am committed to the high functioning of the judiciary. I'm honored to be considered for this position and submit my name as I believe that we all have a responsibility to invest in our democracy, as I believe that this is one way that I can contribute to my home city, the District of Columbia, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Ms. Santos?
Good morning, and thank you, Chairman Mendelson.
Good morning.
I'm Valerie Santos, currently a senior urban development specialist at the World Bank and a 20-year resident of the District of Columbia. Thank you for the opportunity today to testify on my nomination and to represent the district on the board of directors of the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, or WMATA. First, a few comments about WMATA itself and the current period of crisis and opportunity. Since opening in the mid-70s, Metro has been central to the economic growth and vitality of our region. The effectiveness and financial sustainability of WMATA as an institution, both in the short and long term, is critical to the district's and our region's economic health and quality of life. The ongoing viability of Metro matters to both the public and private sector. Metro affects real estate dynamics and directly and indirectly affects the fiscus of the district, as well as other area governments. Metro affects local and regional businesses and institutions, as well as our entertainment and tourism industries. To state the obvious, it matters to citizens, to business visitors, to tourists, to small business owners, our many educational and healthcare institutions, to workers who need reliable and affordable transit to get to jobs. I could go on. As the nation's capital and a world-class city, the district is well positioned to benefit from, as well as be affected by, WMATA's performance. Ensuring the structural soundness of WMATA is very much in the district's interest. In this context, I would like to acknowledge the crisis that WMATA is facing with respect to its funding model and its significant projected operating and capital deficit. In coming months, the board will be called upon to parse quite technical data, consider policy options, as well as the economic and social impact of potential scenarios, debate hard choices, and find places of agreement and compromise. Serving as a member of WMATA's board will require skills in governance, advocacy, strategy, relevant technical expertise, creative thinking, and excellent communication. I bring both breadth and depth of experience in each of these categories, and I look forward to the challenge. In terms of my background, from a personal perspective, I'm a city person. I have claimed the District of Columbia as my home for the past 20 years and have lived in wards 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. I was born and raised in a big city, San Francisco, and grew up dependent on public transit, Muni and BART, bus and streetcar, at one point even taking the cable car for my morning commute to work. I've lived in cities my entire life, including Oakland, New York, and Boston, where I and family members have been and are frequent users of transit. My work at the World Bank for the past 12 years has centered on urban development, focused on financing urban infrastructure, promoting sustainable development, and supporting governments in unlocking value through strategic management of urban infrastructure. I'm one of the bank's global experts in urban revitalization, and as such, I've been involved in investments and advisory engagements with cities across the world, ranging from Lima to Cape Town, that touch on urban development and transit. I have co-led our internal community of practice related to transit-oriented development and contributed to multiple reports, global studies related to financing of transit and TOD. In this work, I've learned so much about elements that comprise successful urban transit systems and learned from many colleagues who are urban transit practitioners. I have observed firsthand both the possibilities and typical institutional challenges of linking well-managed urban transit to urban development. Prior to joining the World Bank, I served the district as the deputy mayor for planning and economic development under the administration of Mayor Adrian Fenty. In addition to the managerial and technical knowledge developed through that role that I think would be relevant to engagement with WMATA, I developed familiarity with the many agencies, institutions, businesses, associations, and other public and private stakeholders in this city and region whose support will be important to ensuring WMATA's future. My past work experiences span public and private sector, as well as local and international context. I've served as a real estate analyst early in my career, more recently as an advisor to governments around the world. As a sustainable city subject matter expert, served as a general manager, as a principal decision maker in a political context, as an investment promoter. This depth and breadth of experience and knowledge will enable me to contribute an informed, thoughtful perspective in a role on the WMATA board. Why do I want to serve? I'm interested to serve on the WMATA board because I believe in public service, and the arc of my career testifies to that. I also believe that public transit should be efficient, convenient, sustainable, accessible, safe, and affordable, and would work to ensure that WMATA continues to meet such standards. Also, I love DC, and I want the district to continue to thrive and evolve. I believe that my background and experiences make me particularly well qualified to serve on the WMATA board, and believe that I could represent the district's interests well. If I were to serve on the board, my top priorities would be to ensure, of course, the short and long-term financial sustainability of WMATA, and also to promote transit-oriented development. In conclusion, I am honored to be considered for this position, and I'm excited about the opportunity to represent the district on the WMATA board. I want to be a conduit for a coordinated district agenda, and I'm committed to making sure that the district would have prepared, thoughtful, strong voice on the board. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Santos. Thank you, each of you. I think I'll start with this. Dr. Jackson, I have your statement, but Ms. Santos, I don't have a copy of your statement, and Ms. Hankins, I don't have a copy of your statement, if you would be kind enough to provide those. And I forgot to say at the outset that the record for this hearing will be open for 2 weeks. It will close at 5 PM on November 15th. So that's the deadline to get your statements, but also if anybody wishes to submit anybody who's watching wants to submit any testimony, they have 2 weeks to do so. And if there's anything any of you want to supplement, again, within the time period of the record. I think I'll just sort of take in order. Ms. Hankins, you were on the Sentencing Commission, but no longer. Is that correct?
That's correct. I stopped being on the Sentencing Commission maybe a year after I became the general counsel at PDS.
And you were on the Code Revision Advisory Group for the Criminal Code Reform Commission, but
Yeah.
no longer?
The advisory group statutorily sort of doesn't exist anymore. So that the advisory group ended, and so did my term or my.
You can see how closely I follow this. I will note, you used to testify before me regularly when I chaired judiciary. And I always thought you were very well prepared and thoughtful, and I respect the work that you've done. Let me see. I think I want to ask of each of you, there are 3 questions I always ask at hearings. First, for each of you, do you have the time to participate fully? Ms. Hankins?
Yes, I do.
And Dr. Jackson, do you have time to participate fully on the Judicial Disabilities and Tenure Commission?
Yes, I do.
And Ms. Santos?
Yes, I do.
The second question I always ask is, do you know of any potential conflict of interest that might affect your serving on the board or commission? And if so, how would you handle such conflict? Ms. Hankins?
I don't know of any conflict. I actually sort of asked the Civil Division at PDS if they have matters before the Office of Administrative Hearings, and they generally don't. Looking at the statute, it looks like members of COST cannot appear before OAH while they're members, and I think it's for 2 or 3 years after their term, but it doesn't disqualify. Their firms are not disqualified, but I don't expect that PDS would have any matters before COST. And I can't think of what a conflict would be, but if there were one and I needed to recuse myself from a particular decision, that's how I would handle it.
And I can't envision a conflict either, but I asked the question anyway. Dr. Jackson?
I can't think of a conflict that I would have in this process. Not being a lawyer, I would never have that. I don't have a firm that would be represented in front of a judge that was being discussed in front of the commission. And so if I can't conceive of one, but should one come up, I would just recuse myself, as I would be one member of the commission, and I could easily point the commission to other physicians if you needed a physician voice that would not have that same conflict if I had one, but I can't think of how one would come up.
And Ms. Santos?
Similarly, I don't have any professional or personal conflicts, and I can't envision one coming up, but if one did, disclose and recuse.
By any chance, Ms. Santos, have you talked with WMATA's general counsel or their ethics person?
Not yet, no.
Okay. Not that you're required to at this point, but just wondering if you had. You work at the World Bank, so I can't see that there's a conflict there. But can I ask a
Exactly.
question?
Yeah.
The third question I ask of nominees is, and I think this was in my pre-hearing questions, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you have any outstanding liability for taxes, fees, or other payments to the district, federal government, or state or local governments? Ms. Hankins?
No, I have none.
Dr. Jackson?
Not to my knowledge. That'd be nice.
Ms. Santos?
No, I do not.
Ms. Santos, were you able to watch the mayor council breakfast yesterday?
Yes, I was. I was dialed in through noon.
What was your takeaway?
I think, well, multiple. It was from a completely selfish perspective, it was quite helpful to hear the general manager present his most current findings and thoughts on the scenarios. It was also extremely helpful to hear the questions raised by individual council members and comments by the mayor. I do think that there is an opportunity to, it's clear that there is a need, not even an opportunity, a need to make sure that individual council members and the executive branch, everyone understands the implications of the scenarios that are getting discussed. And I know that that process has been ongoing, but I think that there's an opportunity to delve deeper, particularly because some of the considerations about economic and fiscal impact haven't yet been teased out. So my sense is that there's just discussions that need to be facilitated.
In your work with other cities through the World Bank, do you get involved with transit issues?
Definitely. So we, of course, we at the bank, we provide financing as well as advice to cities in the developing world. So I personally sit in our urban practice, not in the transport practice. However, I've collaborated numerous times with colleagues on the transport side because, of course, there's overlap between urban infrastructure and transit issues. So as an example, say we're funding the extension of a metro line in Lima, Peru. Our urban team was invited in to collaborate and start thinking through opportunities to spur transit-oriented development. Or I know even actually currently I'm closing up a quite significant engagement that we've had in China, providing significant funding and support to 7 cities, specifically around promoting transit-oriented development policies to the city agencies, regional level authorities, and government. So my work crosses urban infrastructure, city sustainability, public finance, and definitely urban transit.
Thank you. Dr. Jackson, have you had a chance to talk to any of the members or the staff for the Judicial Disabilities and Tenure Commission?
Not any of the current ones. I did speak with somebody who had recently been on the commission and had stepped down. She was a magistrate judge, and I'm blanking on her name. But nobody on the current commission.
Okay, but do you have a sense of issues or what will be required of you?
Yes.
Do you have any sense of challenges that they may have?
Overall, my read of the process is it has some interesting aspects to it. As I said in my opening statement, the idea of a judge being able to remove somebody's liberty and or property has a very unique space in our society, and making sure that judges, even as they age, continue to practice the norms and listen and act in a way that upholds the judiciary is an interesting challenge. It's one we face, as you can well imagine, in surgery. As you know, at a certain point, how do we think about surgeons and their continued practice and that evaluative phenomena? I think that's an ongoing discussion in the commission that will be an interesting sort of challenge that the commission faces regularly.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions for you all. Any of you have anything else you want to add? Ms. Hankins, Dr. Jackson, Ms. Santos?
No, nothing from me other than thank you again for the nomination, and I hope to be able to serve.
Well, I'm looking forward to putting all 3 of you before the council, and my plan is for the committee to mark up on the 21st, which is why the record closes on the 15th. And we may have an additional legislative meeting then, in which case the council would vote. So I want to thank each of you. Please remember, 2 of you, give me your statements because I don't have them. And if there's anything else you want to submit, please feel free to do so. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Thank you for your interest in serving. And I think each of you have contributed in other ways, and thank you for that as well. So with that, I'm going to conclude this hearing. Double check, there are no other council members present. I'm going to conclude this hearing. Again, thank you. The time is 12:17 PM and this hearing or roundtable